An American fighter jet has just been shot down over Iran. And right now, as you are watching this, U.S. Special Forces are on the ground inside enemy territory, racing to find a missing American airman before Iranian forces get to him first. This is not a drill. This is not a rumor. This is happening today, April 3rd, 2026, and the entire world is watching it unfold in real time. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to break down everything: the jet, the crew, the rescue mission, and the massive $1.5 trillion war budget that Trump dropped today. So before we go any further, understand what this means. This is no longer just a story about air power. It is now a story about survival, retrieval, and what happens when a war suddenly becomes personal. A U.S. Air Force F-15E Strike Eagle was flying a combat mission over Iran as part of Operation Epic Fury, the ongoing U.S. and Israeli military campaign against Iran that began on February 28th. Suddenly, Iran's air defense system locked on. The jet was hit. Both crew members ejected safely, but they were now on the ground inside Iran, one of the most dangerous places on Earth for an American service member to be. The White House confirmed that President Trump was immediately briefed. The Pentagon moved fast, and a search and rescue operation was launched deep inside Iranian territory. Now here is something very important you need to understand. The F-15E Strike Eagle is not just any jet. It is one of the most powerful and battle-tested fighter aircraft in the entire U.S. Air Force. It flies with 2 crew members, a pilot, and a weapons systems officer. This aircraft has been one of the backbones of U.S. bombing operations over Iran since the war began. It can carry out both air-to-air combat and devastating air-to-ground strikes. So losing one of these jets is not just a military setback, it is a major symbolic moment, and that is exactly why Iran is celebrating right now. Iranian state media was the first to break the story. They aired footage of what appeared to be wreckage of the jet scattered across a rugged mountainous region of southwestern Iran, likely in Kogiluye and Boyer Ahmad province. Images showed pieces of the aircraft, including what appeared to be an ejection seat with a parachute still attached. Iran initially claimed it had shot down an F-35 stealth fighter, which would have been even more embarrassing for the United States. But military analysts quickly looked at the tail markings on the wreckage and identified it as an F-15E from the 494th Fighter Squadron, 48th Fighter Wing, based at RAF Lakenheath in the United Kingdom. So Iran got the model wrong, but they definitely got the jet. Now here is where it gets even more intense. Iranian authorities immediately went on television and told civilians, regular Iranian citizens, to join the search for the American pilots. They offered a reward of 10 billion Iranian tomans, roughly $76,000, to anyone who could find the crew alive and hand them over. An Iranian soccer player even threw in his championship medals as an extra reward. Iranian state television aired a female anchor urging locals to look for the pilots and bring them to police. The governor of the province said that whoever captured the crew would be specially commended. This was a nationwide manhunt, on live television, for 2 American airmen. But the U.S. military moved fast, very fast. U.S. Special Forces located one of the 2 crew members and rescued him alive on Iranian soil. That is right. American soldiers went into Iran, found their guy, and got him out. CBS News confirmed this, citing 2 U.S. officials. The rescued crew member was alive and receiving medical treatment, but the search for the second crew member was still ongoing. Social media videos geolocated by CNN appeared to show a U.S. Air Force HC-130 refueling aircraft and 2 HH-60G Pave Hawk helicopters flying low over central and southwestern Iran, clearly part of the search and rescue operation happening in real time. This is extraordinary. A rescue mission inside a country the United States is actively at war with, broadcast on social media for the entire world to see. Israel also stepped in to help. An Israeli official confirmed that Israel canceled planned airstrikes on Iran, specifically to avoid interfering with the rescue effort. Instead, Israel provided intelligence to help locate the second crew member. Even in the middle of a war, there are moments like this where every second counts, and every asset is pointed at bringing a person home safely. Now let's talk about what Iran is saying publicly, because it tells you a lot. Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, mocked President Trump on social media. He referenced Trump's repeated claims of winning the war and said, paraphrasing, that their so-called victory has now been downgraded to asking locals whether they have seen the pilots. That is a significant propaganda win for Iran, and they know it. Iran has claimed to shoot down U.S. jets many times before. In fact, at least 6 of those claims were false, and U.S. Central Command denied all of them. But this time, it is real. U.S. officials have confirmed it. And that changes everything. This is the first time in the entire Operation Epic Fury campaign that a manned U.S. aircraft has been brought down by enemy fire. Before today, there had already been close calls and deadly incidents. On March 19th, an F-35 was reportedly hit, but made it back to a U.S. base. On March 1st, 3 F-15E were accidentally shot down by a Kuwaiti FA 18 inches, a friendly fire incident, though all 6 crew members survived. On March 12th, 6 U.S. airmen were killed when their KC-135 refueling aircraft crashed in western Iraq. In total, 13 American service members have been killed since the war began. Today's incident is a painful reminder that this war is far from over, no matter what the White House has been saying. And that brings us to the other enormous story that dropped today, the same day as this shootdown. President Trump officially submitted his fiscal year 2027 budget request to Congress, and the number is staggering, $1.5 trillion for the Pentagon. Let me say that again, $1.5 trillion for defense spending. This is the largest defense budget request in the history of the United States. This is not a small increase. This represents a 44% boost over last year when you include the extra funds Trump wants to push through a budget process called reconciliation. For context, just a few years ago, the United States was spending around $800 billion a year on defense. Now we are looking at nearly double that. Here is how the math breaks down. Of that $1.5 trillion, $1.1 trillion would go through the normal congressional budget process, which typically requires support from both parties. The other $350 billion would be pushed through reconciliation, which Republicans can pass on their own with a simple majority. This is also on top of a separate $200 billion emergency war funding request that Trump already sent to Congress specifically to pay for Operation Epic Fury, the war against Iran. So the total military bill this year could be even larger than $1.5 trillion when you add it all together. What does all of that money buy? According to the budget documents, it funds 85 new F-35 fighter jets, a massive expansion of shipbuilding, including Columbia-class ballistic missile submarines, Virginia-class attack submarines, and amphibious assault ships. There is also significant investment in the Golden Dome missile defense system, a next-generation space-based missile defense network that Trump has been pushing for. The budget also focuses heavily on expanding production of 12 critical munitions categories because the war in Iran has been burning through stockpiles at a rapid pace. Simply put, this budget is designed to fight a long war and prepare for an even bigger one. But here is where the alarm bells start ringing. The United States is already running a $2 trillion annual deficit. The national debt has already passed $39 trillion. A nonpartisan fiscal watchdog, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, ran the numbers and found that boosting defense to $1.5 trillion would add $5.8 trillion in additional spending over the next 10 years. And when you add the interest costs, it would pile nearly $7 trillion more onto the national debt. That is a number that is almost impossible to comprehend. And Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell has already warned that the debt is at a dangerous level, with interest payments alone now projected to exceed $1 trillion in fiscal year 2026. Trump's response was blunt. At a private White House event this week, he said, "We're fighting wars. We can't take care of daycare." His message is clear. Military spending is the priority, and domestic programs, including Medicaid, Medicare, education grants, and renewable energy funding, will face cuts to help pay for it. The budget proposes a 10% reduction in non-defense spending across the board, with responsibilities shifted to state and local governments. That is going to be a very difficult political fight in Congress, especially with Democrats and even some fiscal conservatives in Trump's own party already pushing back. So what does all of this mean for the bigger picture? Think about it for a second. On the same day that the United States loses a fighter jet to Iranian air defenses, which Trump repeatedly claimed had been completely destroyed, the administration releases the largest military budget in American history. That is not a coincidence. That is a message. The message is that the United States is not backing down. Trump even posted on social media today saying that the US military has not even started destroying what is left in Iran. He threatened to hit bridges and electric power plants next. And earlier this morning, a US and Israeli airstrike destroyed a major bridge near Tehran in the city of Karaj. Iran says at least 8 people were killed and 95 were wounded, many of them tourists and families who had gathered along the riverbank to celebrate Nature Day, a traditional Iranian holiday. The war is escalating. Iran is striking back at neighboring countries in the Gulf. Iranian missiles and drones hit facilities in the UAE, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Bahrain today. Kuwait said one of its desalination plants was attacked. Oil prices are rising. The Strait of Hormuz, which carries roughly 20% of the world's oil supply, is under threat. And now, with a downed American jet and an airman still missing inside Iran, the pressure on President Trump to either escalate or negotiate is at its peak. Former Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif published an op-ed today in Foreign Affairs urging Tehran to use this moment to strike a comprehensive peace deal, one that would include limits on Iran's nuclear capabilities and the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz in exchange for lifting all economic sanctions. He called it a deal that Washington might now be willing to accept. Whether Tehran listens to that advice or whether Trump decides to go even harder, that is the question that could determine whether this conflict stays at its current level or explodes into something that drags in the entire region and beyond. Right now, somewhere in the mountains of southwestern Iran, American forces are still searching for a missing airman. A $1.5 trillion war machine is gearing up for whatever comes next, and the world is holding its breath. If this video helped you understand what is really going on, drop a comment below and tell me what you think. Do you think Trump should escalate or go for a deal? Let me know. And please share this video with someone who needs to see it. Most people have no idea how serious this situation has become. Share it, send it, and make sure your friends and family know what is happening. We will have updates as they come. Stay with us, because this story is far from over.